coming up on the Q30 Newscast. Learn about a bill proposed to limit poor spending by officials in higher education.
See how a new immigration policy is affecting the community, and visit one of Hamden's most historical houses.
Also get a look at how Hamden teachers are getting a wage boost.
All that and more coming up on the Q30 Newscast.
Welcome to the first Q30 Newscast of 2025. I'm Seb Lopes.
And I'm Nick Boyd.
Breaking news tonight, a pipe has burst in Mountain View Residence Hall, causing significant flooding in the building once again. For more news, we go live to Julia Barcello on the scene.
Hi guys, yes, I'm here live at the scene and I'm going to step out of the way so you could see what's happening here. A ceiling tile fell from the ceiling onto the ground due to the significant flooding. The floor is extremely moist and a lot of the nearby dorms are still experiencing flooding, water dripping from the ceilings into their rooms. According to the residence hall director, Sheen Malcolm, this is due to a pipe burst. We're still working on gathering more information, and for now, students were just told to evacuate the building and gather their necessities. They weren't told a specific place to go yet. However, many are going to other students' dorms and places where there simply isn't flooding. I'll be back with more information. For now, reporting live from the Mountain View Residence Hall for Q30 News, Julia Barcello.
Thanks, Julia. Q30 News on Twitter will have updates throughout the night. A new bill in the Connecticut House is looking to increase transparency in higher education spending.
For more information, we go to Q30's Evangeline Crossley.
Connecticut lawmakers on the Higher Education Committee have voted unanimously to draft a bill aimed at preventing lavish spending by leaders of the Connecticut state colleges and universities. Following an investigation into the CSCU's chancellor, Terrence Chang, both CT Insider and the state comptroller's office found inappropriate charges made to accounts funded by taxpayers and student tuition. Their reports found that Chang spent this money on anything from alcohol to chauffeured rides.
That while there was no criminal wrongdoing that we found, there was certainly bad judgment being used by the chancellor and by other senior executives at the CSU system.
The bill outlines 10 reforms that are inspired by recommendations made in Comptroller Scanlon's report. Those include a revamp and harsher implementation of policies, especially those regarding executives' credit card and vehicle use. The bill will also create an office responsible for constantly auditing expenses by the executives. Co-chair for the Higher Education Committee, Representative Gregory Haddad, said that the sums of money this bill looks to address aren't massive, but they still matter.
As the administration is struggling to close budget gaps, they should, sort of start with low-hanging fruit, and some of these expenditures are certainly those.
And the Chancellor's office has vowed to improve compliance policies, stating in part, quote, "These actions will increase accountability and transparency across the CSCU system and protect taxpayer dollars and student funds, which is our top priority," end quote. The Comptroller's office shared their findings with the State Department of Ethics, who will decide whether or not to launch an investigation into the Chancellor or anyone else within the CSCU system. Now, Representative Haddad did share with me that this bill will not have any effect on private universities like Quinnipiac, but his committee is considering legislation to examine the spending of both public and private universities. Reporting from the Mount Carmel campus for Q30 News, Evangeline Crossley.
With President Judy Olean stepping down, a new university president will be announced this Thursday at noon. Quinnipiac will hold a presentation for the announcement in the College of Communications and Engineering building. Quinnipiac has made it known that the incoming president was unanimously selected for the role. This will be the 10th president in the long storied history of the university, ending nearly 7 years of President Olean's tenure. Students can RSVP for the event through Outlook.
The Student Government Association announced their special election results today. Evan Rogers was selected as the new junior class senator, beating 2 other candidates for the vacant seat. He joins 5 other representatives for the class of 2026.
With the Reckwell Center seeing many no-shows for fitness classes, the administration decided to take action. Being put in effect this past December, any participant who doesn't attend a fitness class they registered for 3 or more times will lose access to all Reckwell programs for 1 week. This does not include mental health or academic programs. There will also be fees in place for various situations if they were to occur. For intramurals, if a team forfeits the team captain will receive a $40 charge, while the unofficiated charge will be $25. If you get charged with a fee, you'll have 7 days to pay. If you fail to do so, you'll lose access to all campus recreations and facilities until the fee is paid.
I think that it might gain some more respect for the facilities. People might respect the be responsible for the equipment more, but I think some students might not like that as well.
There's an update on the plans for the new School of Business on the South Quad. Sal Filardi, Quinnipiac's Vice President of Facilities and Capital Planning, is holding an info session to talk about the university's plan to transition to the new buildings. The event is being held on February 4th at 4 p.m. in CCE 101. According to the university website, the new business school is scheduled to open this May.
With staffing shortages getting to an unbearable point, change is coming. Hamden teachers will be seeing a salary increase over the next 3 years.
Q30's Sydney Weimer has more on the story.
Teachers at Hamden Public School Districts can expect to see wage increases as part of a new agreement between Hamden Public Schools and the Teachers Union. A 3-year contract was approved by the town's Legislative Council last week, which promises wages of experienced Hamden teachers to gradually increase 13% over the next 3 years. The contract was placed in an effort to alleviate local staffing shortages and boost teacher retention.
Ever since getting back on campus, this New England weather has been wild. It just can't make up its mind.
Yeah, no kidding, Seb. Temperatures have been all over the place. Andrew Reynolds has a preview of this week's weather report. How's it looking out there?
Yeah, Nick and Seb, it's starting to look good today. It was a little bit warmer than I expected when I left my dorm this morning. But let's take a look on the second half of the week that we got coming up. Today, as I mentioned, it was a little bit warmer, low 40s, but it's cold tonight right now, 20 degrees for the low. But as we head into tomorrow and Friday, the sun's going to be out. It's going to be a little bit colder than it was today. Tomorrow, 36 degrees is the high, 30 degrees is the low tomorrow night. And then on Friday, it's going to warm up, similar weather to today, but the sun's going to be out. So it could be a little bit warmer depending on how bright the sun is. And the low will be 32 degrees, just above freezing. And as we head into the weekend and the beginning of next weekend, the weather's going to look a little bit nicer too, and I'll tell you more about that right after this commercial break.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020. One teen can come in and make you look at life in a whole different way.
You know, he's my father, so I look up to him a lot. If I can be 10% of the man he is, I'll be a happy person for sure.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Welcome back to the Q30 Newscast. Quinnipiac is launching an opportunity for cardiac screenings. The event will take place on Saturday, February 1st in the Wellness and Recreation Center. The screenings will take place from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. While walk-ins are accepted, campus encourages pre-registration just to be safe. The link to sign up is screening.inaheartbeat.org.
With the new semester starting up, many students are looking to set new goals for themselves. The university hosted a vision board making event on Monday at the Recreation and Wellness Center. Students created boards to visualize their goals and start off the new year on the right track.
Back in office, Trump signed an executive order to deport millions of illegal immigrants.
Q30's Carter Kane has more on how the administration's mass deportation policy is affecting local businesses and restaurants.
Following the inauguration of 47th President Donald Trump, 37 executive orders were signed after 1 week of being in office. One executive order in particular, titled Protecting the American People Against Invasion, Trump called for the immediate removal of those in the United States without legal status, and that agencies must report on progress and conditions within 90 days. There are many places in the United States that are designed to help immigrants get on their feet when they first come to a new country, Iris in New Haven being one of these locations. Muhammad Dad Sweri, Assistant Director of IRIS, was able to sit down with Q30 and explain how he got involved with IRIS and how these executive orders are affecting the nonprofit.
February 2017, I came with my family from Afghanistan on a special immigrant visa. And 2017, when we arrived, this organization, IRIS, Integrated Refugee and Immigrant Services, were the sole organization that welcomed me and my family with open heart and helped me resettle in this beautiful state.
I'm here in New Haven, standing right outside of the IRIS building, where they have been providing support to asylum seekers and immigrants since 1982.
We welcome a new refugee in the state, in New Haven probably, but also we have an office in Hartford, but we have been resettling refugees in all over the state through the incredible and generous support of the community members. So what we do is that we temporarily provide a basic assistance to those newcomers until they become financially independent themselves, to pay their bills, to get food on the table for their children, and of course, to be able to navigate their way into this new society, into the new town or country that they have come.
With only a limited time to adjust to these new executive orders, IRIS and many other locations will have to figure out ways to continue to keep their doors open to support immigrants and continue doing their work. Reporting from New Haven, Connecticut, for Q30 News, I'm Carter Kane.
Since taking power, the new Trump administration has upturned Washington as the president advances on his campaign promises.
For more information, we have Q30's Jack Bergman for this week's Politics Report.
Thanks, Nick and Seb. With President Donald Trump recently stepping back into office for his second term, we have lots of political news to talk about, so let's get right into it. After his inauguration on January 20th, President Trump got straight to work implementing his new policies. Trump ordered roughly 1,500 pardons and commuted the sentences of 14 in connection to the Capitol attack on January 6th in 2021. The pardon fulfills one of Trump's main campaign promises to continuously vouch for his supporters. Trump did not speak about this during his inauguration address, but he spoke to a crowd of supporters in the Capitol afterwards. He stated an unsupported claim that the 2020 presidential election was, quote, rigged. Moving on with more news from the executive office, President Trump is trying to stop a civil lawsuit against Trump Media and Technology Group, his multi-billion-dollar social media company. Trump argued that he should be immune from civil lawsuits from the state court while he is president. He also argued that having to fend off the litigation would be a, quote, distraction from his presidential duties and, quote, interfere substantially with the function of the executive branch. President Trump currently has 14 pending lawsuits, multiple of which are related to his social media company. To continue with the president's recent administrative decisions, on Monday night, Trump signed multiple executive orders that could reshape the military. The first would reinstate 8,000 members of the military for refusing to get the COVID-19 vaccine. A second order directed the Pentagon to create a policy for transgender service members. During a retreat with House Republicans, Trump stated, quote, to ensure we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, we will get transgender ideology the hell out of our military. It's going to be gone, end quote. These orders follow Trump's announcement last week with plans to end DEI initiatives across the federal government. That's all we have for this week's political update. Now back to Nick and Seb at the desk.
Now, Nick, from the Middle East to Northern Europe, there is a lot going on right now.
You're right, Seb. For your international news update, here's Q30's Emily Katz.
Thanks, Nick and Seb. Moving to Europe, world leaders gathered on Monday to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, the Nazi concentration camp in southern Poland. The ceremony took place at the former camp. Leaders from around the world came together to honor this event in history. Dignitaries in attendance included the King of Britain, the Canadian Prime Minister, Chancellor of Germany, the French President, the Polish president, and the Ukrainian president. Approximately 50 survivors of Auschwitz participated in the commemoration as well. The ceremony included the lighting of candles and laying of wreaths at the infamous Death Gate, through which over 1 million prisoners were led to their death. This commemoration is likely to be the last major observance of Auschwitz liberation attended by a significant number of survivors. Moving to the Middle East, the Israel-Hamas ceasefire agreement established on January 19th was given a devastating blow. The ceasefire originally prompted Hamas to release 33 Israeli hostages in exchange for Israel freeing around 1,900 Palestinian prisoners. On Monday, January 27th, Hamas told Israel that 8 of 33 Israeli hostages set to be released as part of the first phase of the ceasefire are dead in Gaza during a failed rescue attempt by the Israeli military. The operation was launched based on intelligence suggesting imminent danger to the hostages' lives. This incident brings the total number of hostages confirmed dead since the October 7, 2023 attack to 29. The failed rescue raised tensions with Hamas accusing Israel of violating the ceasefire terms. Now to the climate crisis, the world continues to grapple with escalating climate challenges. 2024 was confirmed by the climate monitoring organization, Berkeley Earth, as the hottest year on record, with global average temperatures reaching 2.88 degrees Fahrenheit above pre-industrial levels, marking the first calendar year to exceed 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. The World Meteorological Organization warns that this record-breaking heat is likely to continue in 2025, further accelerating climate change. What we are going to see looking ahead is countries being required to submit NDCs, also known as Updated Nationally Determined Contributions, by February, outlining their plans to combat climate change. With President Trump having just entered in office, he has withdrawn the United States from the Paris Agreement, which signals a retreat from global efforts to limit greenhouse gas emissions and combat climate change. That's all for international news. Seb, Nick.
Thanks, Emily. We've got to take a break here on the Q30 Newscast.
But when we come back, we'll have the full week of weather as well as national news. We'll be back in 90.
Owen, when you came into my life, it was a whirlwind.
I just can't do it.
We didn't know what the future would hold, but we knew you would always be a part of it. Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I'm so proud to call you my son.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Welcome back to the show. Groundhog Day is right around the corner, and guess what? I'm hoping for some more cold days.
Cold days is crazy, Seb, but I don't get my weather from the groundhog. I get it from Andrew Reynolds, who's back with the full weekly forecast. What do you have for us?
Thank you, Nick and Seb. And as I mentioned earlier in the 3-day forecast, we're looking at at least on Friday, it's going to be a little bit warmer. As we head into the weekend, though, it's going to get a little bit colder. 36 the high on Saturday, a little bit of cloudy, low of 15. Gets a little bit colder on Sunday with a high of 34, low of 16, partial cloudy weather. If you might be watching the Pro Bowl. And then on Monday, 50 degrees is the high, the warmest that we'll see all week, low of 29. And then on Tuesday, it's going to get colder once again into that winter weather with a high of 39 degrees and a low of 24. As we look tomorrow around the state of Connecticut, you look at the northwestern side in Torrington, 42 degrees is the high, in Danbury, 43. And then on the southwestern side in Stamford on the Panhandle, you're looking at 50 degrees. And then down south, just below us in New Haven, 43 for the high. And then in New London on the west or the eastern side of the state, 42 degrees, Norwich 50 degrees, and then of course the Capital District of Hartford being 49. That's all for the forecast this week. Send it right back to Seb and Nick at the desk.
Quinnipiac University has been hosting events to celebrate the life and mission of Dr. Martin Luther King. Tomorrow, January 30th at 2 p.m. in the College of Communications and Engineering 101, when there will be a critical conversation speaker. The speaker will be Reverend Ronald English, a former ministerial assistant to Drs. Martin Luther King Jr. and Sr. English was at Dr. King's funeral in 1968 when he delivered a prayer. English has a lifelong goal of justice and equality as he continues to inspire communities nationwide.
This Monday, CXO Tom Ellett is hosting the first Talks on the Rocks of 2025 at the On the Rocks pub on the York Hill campus. The topic of the dinner and conversation event is addressing what action steps to take after the results of the latest campus climate survey from November. The event is being held this Monday at 6 p.m. and the RSVP link can be found in your emails.
National security has been a big topic since the start of 2025, but that's not the only topic around national news.
Q30's Brittany Brown-Lieben has the scoop on what's going on around the country.
Thanks, guys. Let's move into national news. This weekend, the first significant rain and snowstorm hit Southern California, causing serious mudslides. More than an inch of rain fell in the Los Angeles hillsides near the Pacific Palisades, and neighboring Malibu were closed, quote, due to dangerous roads conditions. According to the Santa Monica Malibu United School, because of the recent fires, the mudslides were more prominent in the area. Joe Serrard, a meteorologist for the National Weather Service for Los Angeles, said, quote, all the fresh burns are very susceptible to rapid runoff, end quote. Now to a social media platform. TikTok is now back in use for Americans, but the app is still seen as a national security threat. However, TikTok isn't going away just yet. On Saturday, January 18th, the popular app had gone dark on phones across America for 12 hours, but it returned after President Donald Trump signed an executive order to delay this process. Representative Mike Turner, the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, said, quote, Sunday that TikTok, quote, remains a national security threat, end quote. Trump said, quote, we can save TikTok. I think it would be a good thing, end quote. He also added that he was a warm spot for the app, citing that it supports young American people. Companies in America are trying to buy TikTok to make it an American company, and in 75 days, the government will again reevaluate terminating or reviving the app. Now to a separate tech platform, Chinese AI application DeepSeek is being seen as a threat to U.S. national security. DeepSeek was introduced in the U.S. on Monday, and it quickly gained popularity, becoming the most downloaded free application in the country on the Apple App Store. This is a leading competitor to the United States AI generator ChatGPT and Google Gemini. A Michigan Republican who chairs the bipartisan House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, Representative John Molinar, said that on Tuesday, the U.S. cannot allow Chinese Communist Party models such as DeepSeek to risk our national security and leverage our technology to advance their AI ambitions. We must work swiftly to replace stronger export controls on technologies critical to DeepSeek's AI infrastructure, end quote. This app is still so new, and the United States will continue to investigate the security aspects. That's all I have for national news. Now back to you guys at the desk.
We have a lot coming up, but we sadly have to go to our last break of the night first. However, off-campus student life has big news we will bring to you.
Don't go anywhere, folks. The Q30 Newscast will be right back.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes. Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right? I always feel like I can solve my own problems, but eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me. When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back to Studio 125. A popular New Haven nightclub among college students was shut down a few weeks ago.
Q30's Julia Barcello has the full story.
A popular nightclub amongst college students in New Haven has received a temporary suspension of a liquor license for violating numerous regulations. 144 Temple, commonly known as Vanity on 144 Temple Street, has paid a $13,000 fine, and its liquor permit has been suspended for 13 days by the Department of Consumer Protection Liquor Control Commission. Quinnipiac students are not surprised by the suspension.
Well, I was surprised that they closed, but I wasn't surprised that it was because of selling to underage people, to be honest.
They get shut down quite a lot, I've heard, so not really shocked.
According to Google, the establishment will be open Wednesday through Saturday from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m., but closed the remainder of the week. The DCP said 144 Temple was not compliant with smoking and sale to minors regulations, in addition to several other reported violations. Between the months of February and April of 2024, Vanity was raided by New Haven police often, making some students like Scott more conscious.
I didn't really go when that was happening. I just stayed away for a few weeks and then went back.
In 2022, the building's previous occupant, Elm City Tap House, had its liquor permit revoked for various violations, including sales to minors and security measures. Now, students do say they feel relatively safe when entering 144 Temple.
No, I usually have a lot of fun because we go for sorority or with my friends, so it's usually fun.
144 Temple will be fully reopened Thursday, February 13th, according to the nightclub's Instagram account. Reporting from the Elm City for Q30 News, Julia Barcello.
The cold ice was a big focus this past weekend with the Connecticut Ice Tournament coming back around. From the men's ice hockey team moving up a spot in the rankings to the hardwood, Quinnipiac sports are better than ever.
You're a big college hockey guy, Seb.
Absolutely.
I'm a big college basketball guy, and Q30 Zach Naffa has the best of both worlds in this week's sports update.
Thanks, Nick and Seb. The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team competed in the 5th annual Connecticut Ice Tournament this past weekend. This edition of the event was hosted at Sacred Heart's Martiri Family Arena. The Bobcats took on the Yukon Huskies in the opening round of the tournament on Friday, but fell 2-1 as the Huskies scored the game winner with less than a second left in regulation. This marked the first time the Bobcats were unable to advance to the championship game in the history of the event. Quinnipiac would rebound on Saturday to defeat Yale 6-2 in the consolation game, with Travis Treeler recording his 100th NCAA point. Staying on the ice, the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team took on the Yale Bulldogs on Friday for the 3rd time this season. Emerson Jarvis got the scoring started for the Bobcats late in the second period, while Kaylin LaMarche added to the Bobcat lead with a goal just under a minute later. That was featured on SportsCenter's Top 10 Plays. Yale would tack one on late, but Quinnipiac would hold on to win 2-1, with goaltender Kaylee Doyle making 22 saves in the win. The Bobcats would also go on to tie Brown on Saturday. Quinnipiac women's basketball head coach Trisha Fabry was named to the 2025 Kathy Delaney Smith Mid-Major Coach of the Year Award midseason watch list. The award is named after former Harvard women's basketball head coach Kathy Delaney Smith. 5 finalists will be named in March, and the winner will be announced near the Final Four. Fabry has led the Bobcats to one of the best starts in program history, with a record of 16-2, with both losses coming in overtime. Quinnipiac is currently second in the MAC with an 8-1 conference record. That's all for sports. Back to you guys at the desk.
Nick, it's not who let the dogs out, who let the monkeys out.
That's right. 43 rhesus macaque monkeys escaped from a research facility outside Charleston, South Carolina back in November when an employee, get this, left the enclosure unlocked.
You gotta be kidding.
They've just now finally recaptured the last 4 missing monkeys this week.
Now, Nick, the way they found the lost monkeys is even crazier. Believe it or not, the Alpha Guard employees of the zoo started placing out traps, but these traps were in fact peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
You'd think they'd use bananas,
hey,
but...
it worked somehow.
Well, enough monkeying around, Seb.
All right. Well, that's unfortunately all the time we have on the Q30 Newscast. Make sure you follow Q30 News on X to stay up to date on everything going on around campus.
And follow Q30 Television on X and Instagram to keep up with all the station's shows. I'm Nick Boyd. He's Seb Lopes. Good night, Bobcats.